Elsewhere in D.C., we continue to look into the mid-air collision in Washington, D.C. The crash raises many questions, many about visibility near the airport, especially at night.
And Stefan Holt is a pilot in addition to being a journalist. We've been relying on him a lot here in the newsroom over the last day. To give us an aviator's perspective on all this, so Stefan, break it down for us.
Yeah, so Alex, let me break down the approach here, show you the path into Reagan National Airport. Flight 5342, PSA Airlines call sign Blue Streak was the regional jet. They were coming northbound along the Potomac River, landing on runway 33 here. The helicopter, Pat 25, was the chopper. They were coming down as that jet was cleared to land, which technically gave the jet the right of way there. We know from liveatc.net that the tower warned that flight, Pat 25, that they had landing traffic in front of them. The chopper pilot responded, said they had the traffic in sight, and they would maintain visual separation. They would avoid that traffic, but for reasons unknown, they did not stay separated. Now, I wanted to point out it can be extremely challenging to spot other airplanes at night. This is a picture for anyone who's gone through private pilot training. This is what you see in the FAA pilot handbook. It shows the location of the navigation lights on a typical airplane. You've got the red and green lights on the wings. You would also have strobe lights flashing on the wings as well. A white light there on the tail, and then on the CRJ there would be bright landing lights on the wing roots here and then on the nose. Now, imagine trying to find all that when this is what you see out that front cockpit window. This is not D.C., but it represents flying at night in a populated area. Can you see the runway right there? There's a runway right there. Pretty hard to spot out there. A ton of light pollution in an urban area. That can make it very difficult to pick out other aircraft that may be in your path. I spoke with Charlie Hilbrad. He's a commercial pilot and flight instructor who has about 1,000 hours flying the CRJ regional jet. He shared with me some of the challenges of flying at night in a very busy, complex area like D.C.
When it's dark, judging the aircraft's distance away from you is nearly impossible. Whereas during the daytime, you can kind of make out, okay, I see some wings, I see a tail, it's probably a mile away. At night, it's not possible because all you see is lights. And the sea of lights, especially in a busy area like Reagan National, the sea of lights just kind of blend together. Reagan National is already a really complex airport to fly into. There are multiple intersecting runways, tight airport constraints, very busy air traffic control. And unlike a lot of other airports, Reagan National specifically requires a specific approach that it's not always that straightforward.
It's a turning approach into the runway there. Extremely early in this investigation. As the recovery mission continues, of course, the next phase will be gathering the physical evidence from the wreckage. NTSB investigators are there on the scene in D.C. They're going to be using those recorders, the cockpit voice recorders from the CRJ and potentially from the Black Hawk helicopter as well. There may be some recording devices on there. They'll be using those and hopefully to determine if the two flight crews actually did see each other that night across the Potomac.
You make such a good point, Steph, because we're so glad we have video, but to see it from what it might have looked like out of the cockpit, from up above. All of our shots are from the ground. That's not what pilots are seeing. That's not how they're viewing.
It's a real challenge, and it ultimately is the pilot's responsibility to see and avoid other traffic. We'll have to see what the NTSB finds out.
Thanks for that perspective.
You're welcome. Steph.